DreAllDay.com.
Before we start, please like and comment on this video so I can get your feedback. Also, click that subscribe button so you can get all the new content I'm dropping on this channel. And the free book, the mental handbook, physical book, Work on Your Game University, just take care of the shipping and handling, send this right to your doorstep. Let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. I got my basketball out now for my vids, so I look like a basketball player, right? All right, this vid is about injuries. How do you avoid injuries? What certain activities lead to injuries? How can you keep yourself as healthy as possible and as injury-free as possible? I'm gonna give you some information on this. Again, based on my experiences, based on what I know. Some of this is gonna be subjective, but much of this is gonna be objective, and much of it is gonna be maybe a little bit eye-opening for some of you basketball players or athletes in general. For those who don't know me, my background, played ball overseas 9 years, 8 different countries, up and down career. Some years I was getting deals, some years I was not getting deals. I played college basketball at the D3 level at Penn State Altoona. Barely made my high school basketball team. Finally made it 1 year as a senior, barely played at all. And if you want to read the story of how I was actually able to make that happen, then you need to go to DreAllDay.com and get my first book. It's called Buy a Game. It's completely for free. We'll send you the PDF via email. The link is down there. But anyway, what we're talking about is injuries. Players sometimes ask me, Dre, you know, I don't want to play basketball on concrete because it'll mess up my knees. Or if I play basketball on concrete, will it mess up my knees? Or Dre, what exercises can I do to avoid injuries? Or what ways can I play basketball to not get injured? Or what type of workouts or what type of movements lead to more injuries? So first we got to dispel some myths, because there are a whole lot of myths out there when it comes to injuries and basketball and the body. Here's the first thing that everybody has to understand before I even get into the myths is this. Every human body is unique. Every human body is unique, which means if I do a certain exercise every single day for an hour and you do the same exercise every single day for an hour, you might get injured and I will feel perfect. I'll feel perfectly fine and nothing will be wrong with me. Every human body is unique, which means the exact same exercise that injured you may not injure everybody else. Because many times, especially in places like YouTube or blogs, YouTube is actually the worst. Someone will come into the comments of some video, maybe my video, maybe somebody else's video, and they'll say, well, I did this and I got injured. Or my friend did that and they got injured. Or I heard about this other thing that somebody else did and they got injured. And they basically saying it as a way to scare everybody else from doing that thing or doing the program and doing that exercise. That's bullshit, because just because it happened to you doesn't mean it will happen to somebody else, number one. And number two, just because you say you did it and you got injured doesn't mean you were doing it the right way. It doesn't mean that everything else you were doing outside of the one thing that quote unquote injured you was being done the right way. So when someone gets injured, what all of you have to understand, it doesn't necessarily mean it's because of the thing that they were doing. Like I remember Derrick Rose tore his ACL, he was doing a jump stop move. Does that mean doing a jump stop is going to injure everybody whenever they do it? Of course not. We got to factor in the whole 21 years or 22 years of activity Derrick Rose had on his body all the way up to the exact moment that he did that, and everything that was going on in the environment in the moment that it happened. Injuries are accidents, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody plans to have an injury, and there is no one movement that definitely guarantees somebody's going to get injured, because millions of people have done jump stops before Derrick Rose did it. Derrick Rose did a bunch of it before that. Then he got injured that one time doing a jump stop. Other people did it, they don't get injured at all. So just because somebody did something and they quote unquote got injured, even if you've seen it happen, does not mean that thing makes them injured. You got to factor in everything else going on in that person's life, the way they eat, the way they sleep, how much rest they're getting, the amount of fatigue they had at the moment, what outside factors at the exact moment that it happened, how much training they've done up to that point, what types of training, because the body gets conditioned through their training. All of that stuff matters. It's not just one thing that happens in one moment that causes an injury or prevents an injury. So everyone understand that. Also understand that injuries are accidents. Nobody gets injured on purpose. Anytime somebody gets injured, they didn't plan for it. And again, the thing that someone was doing when they got injured, usually millions of other people have done it many times, and that person probably did it many times and never got injured doing it. So just because it happened to one person does not mean it will happen to other people. Second thing, here's the myths. Let's get rid of some myths. So the first one is, just because someone got injured doing something does not mean you will get injured doing the exact same thing. Second thing, people ask, hey, I heard that this training program will hurt your knees, or this training program will hurt your ankles, or this will hurt your back, or this will get you too tired. All of that stuff is purely subjective. If I could go do a certain workout program, any program you want to name. I'm not even going to get into naming any programs here. I could do any program and I could get injured or hurt my knees doing that program. You could do the same program and you could add 20 inches to your vertical and become Vince Carter. Exact same exercises we did the exact same way, exact same time. I get hurt, you don't, because our bodies are unique. So no one program or one exercise or one certain type of working out or any of that injures people. None of those things injure people. You injure yourself based on what you are doing and based on who you are as a person. I mean, I don't mean you injure yourself like on purpose, but it's just based on your activity and what you've done up to this point. I gotta plug my power in here. So when we're talking injuries, let's get to another myth about injuries. Sometimes basketball players come to me and they say, let me get back on camera here, turn my power in. All right, now we good. Sometimes basketball players come to me and they say, Dre, you know, I don't have access to an indoor court. The only court I have access to is an outdoor court. So if I play on this outdoor court, will it hurt my knees? Well, this is a dumb question, first of all. I'm gonna tell you why it's a dumb question, because if the only thing you have access to is an outdoor court, then it doesn't matter if it's gonna hurt you or not, does it? Because you don't have any other court. So your only choice you have is either play basketball or don't play basketball. Just go play basketball. If you get hurt playing basketball, at least you got hurt doing what you wanna do. But to answer the question specifically, does playing on concrete injure your knees? The answer is no. I'm gonna answer that universally. Playing on concrete does not injure your knees. You do not mess up your knees by playing basketball on concrete. I used to think that you did. I used to think, no, I don't like playing on concrete because it's gonna hurt my knees. I gotta play in the gym. I can't do nothing on concrete. I used to never run outside on concrete. I wouldn't do anything athletic on concrete because I thought it was hurting my knees. I thought it was hurting my body. Found out that's not actually true. I'm gonna tell you what hurts your knees. I'm gonna tell you what's something that wears down your knees over time. What wears down your ankles, wears down your back, wears down your joints over time. You wanna know what it is? Playing basketball. Playing basketball wears down your knees. Playing basketball wears down your ankles. Playing basketball can lead to lifelong injuries, lifelong pains and deformations. Playing basketball itself is what hurts your knees. I know. Let me tell you how I know. Because I don't play basketball at the pro level anymore. I don't play basketball a lot like I used to anymore. So you know what happens? I run outside on concrete all the time. I run outside on concrete like 3-4 times a week. No pain in my knees. I run on treadmills. No pain in my knees. None whatsoever. When I played basketball, when I was going to the gym every day and working on my game every single day for hours, I had pains in my knees. I had soreness in my knees. I had inflammation in my knees, or I was putting ice on it. Not pain like I couldn't play, but I could feel my knees because I was playing basketball so much. The thing about basketball that breaks down your knees is the high impact, jumping and landing. Doesn't matter how high you jump, jumping and landing, because the force of gravity multiplied by your weight. All of that force is going onto your knees every time you jump. You're running. And the thing about basketball is not like running like if you ran a marathon. It's starting and stopping. It's short distance running. So you're sprinting full speed going this way. Then you completely stop your momentum and go back the other direction. Or you stop and go in this direction. You stop and go in that direction. All that force. When you're running full speed, you stop on a dime, boom, plant and go the opposite direction or go in a different direction. All of the force that you created with your speed multiplied by the force of your body, the weight that you're carrying. And you don't have to be big to be carrying weight. Whatever weight you weigh, you could be light. That weight, all that force is going onto that joint of your knee. All that force is going into the cartilage. All that force is going into it over and over and over and over and over again over years and years and years of playing basketball. How many hours you spend working out? How many games do you play? When that stuff happens, that eventually breaks it down. That breaks down the knee. So when somebody injures their knee, or when a basketball player needs surgery on their knee when they're like 30 or 29 or 35, it's not because of one thing that they did. It's not because of one program. That's because of years and years and years of playing basketball. And you notice, if you look at players who played until their late 30s, like Jordan when he came back, Kobe Bryant when he recently retired, Tim Duncan, all these players who played for a long time, you notice that they all eventually have to get some work done on their knees. That's not because they were playing on concrete. It's not because they were all doing the same training programs. Not because they all did the same move over and over again. It's because they're just playing basketball. Playing basketball is not, the human body was not created for basketball. Newsflash to all of you. The human body was not created to do the type of movements we do playing basketball, which is why basketball careers, where if you want to be a writer or you want to make YouTube videos or you want to be a coach or you want to be a teacher, you could do that till you're 65, 70 years old. Basketball careers end when you're 35, 30, 40. Baseball, football, The human body was not created to do the things that we do in these sports. Not every sport, but these sports that I just mentioned. The body wasn't made for it. That's why the body wears down eventually. Especially a sport. We're just going to stick to basketball. I ain't going to try to talk about sports that I don't know that well. Basketball is what wears down your knees. It's not the concrete. It's the starting and the stopping. It's all the force you're putting on your joints when you start and stop and change direction. When you jump and you're landing around other people, and the force of other people and the landing and making sure the landing is not awkward and your weight being shifted. 1% can make the difference between the torn ligament and everything being perfectly fine. Just a 1% shift in the way that you land or your balance, or if something's wrong with your foot. And here's the other thing you got to understand. Speaking of that, so now that we cleared up that myth, playing on concrete does not hurt your knees. Playing basketball hurts your knees. Now here's the other thing. The human body works in what they call the kinetic chain. And those of you who know what the kinetic chain may understand what I'm getting at here. If you don't know what the kinetic chain is, a very simple way of explaining it. I'm not a scientist or a sports, what do they call it? A physical therapist or none of that. Kinetic chain basically means that if one part of your body is hurting, the rest of your body works to compensate for that hurting part of your body. Which means when you have an injury in a certain area of your body, this is very important. When you have an injury in a certain area of your body, it does not necessarily mean that something's wrong with that area that you're hurt. The area that's hurting is not necessarily the problem area. The problem could be some other part of the body. That part is weakened, so the part that got injured has been overcompensating, working harder than it's used to working, thus causing an imbalance, thus overworking it, thus causing inflammation, thus causing pain, thus leading to an injury, thus leading to an ACL, a hip, a torn muscle. Those things happen because they're compensating for something else that you didn't even know was the problem. For example, let's say that your hip, you're having problems with your hip. Let's say your lower back. All right, you're having a tight lower back. I hear from basketball players all the time. They say, my lower back gets tight. My lower back is always hurting when I do dribbling drills. My back's hurting when I jump. My back hurts when I play basketball, period. What can I do to work on the lower back? What can I do to strengthen my lower back? What can I do to add flexibility to my lower back? Those are good questions, but they're not the best question. Because usually when you have a problem with your lower back, any of you out there, there's a problem with your lower back. I'm just using this as an example. Is usually not your lower back that's actually the issue. It's not your back that's the issue. Usually when your lower back is bothering you, the issue is your hips are tight, or your hips are out of balance, meaning one hip is way tighter than the other hip. That's what leads to a lower back injury, because the hips and the back are tied together. Now, how can the hips get out of balance? The hips may be out of balance because your quads are not firing properly. One of your quads may be stronger than the other quad, thus causing the quad that is on the weak side, the weak side quad. Let's say your left quad is really weak. That means your left hip has to work a little bit harder. Now the left hip gets stronger than the right hip. Now the right hip is out of balance. Now your lower back hurts. Now you think it's something wrong with your back. There's nothing wrong with your back. Something wrong with your quad, but you don't even know that. Now something may be wrong with your quad because your knee is weak. You don't understand that your knee is weak, but your knee is weak because your foot, maybe your Achilles, something wrong with your Achilles tendon. Or it's one of your feet. There's maybe a muscle in your foot that's really injured, but you keep working on your game every day, ignoring the pain. So the muscle in your foot goes up to the Achilles weakens the calf muscle tendons weakens the knee joint, the knee weakens the quad, and then the quad makes that hip have to work extra hard. The hip is doing its job, is working extra hard to compensate for the quad. Now that this quad is stronger than the other, this hip is stronger than the other hip. Now your lower back hurts, then your shoulder is hurting, and then your neck's hurting. You're waking up every day with pain in your neck, and you're like, yo, something's wrong with my neck. I need to go see a doctor to help me with my neck. There's nothing wrong with your neck. There's something wrong with your foot. It's a kinetic chain. So me explaining all of that to you is not to spook you or make you afraid of getting any type of injury. The reason I'm telling you that is to tell you this. Whenever you have pain or injury in some area of your body, it may not be specifically that area, which means you need two things. Number one, if you can, you need to be around a trained professional who knows the human body, who can understand this stuff, who can explain it to you, who can understand, who can notice when you're hurting in one area what the real problem is. Because what you think is the problem is usually not the problem. If any of you seen my videos with Maria, who's been my trainer for years, she knows this stuff. She explained this stuff to me. That's how I started to understand it, started to research it and learn more about it. But you need to be around a professional who understands this stuff. Now, maybe you're 14 years old. You can't afford a trainer. Maybe you don't have anybody who's at that level. One thing you can do is make sure your training is all aligned with each other. So something that people come to me and they see me doing a certain workout, off the court training, and they say, well, Dre, how much of this should I do? Or can I do this if I'm blank? Or can I do this if I'm 15? Can I do this if I'm 25? Can I do this if I have a bad back? Will this help me jump higher? Will this help me get stronger in the post? What you got to understand is that it's not just one exercise. You can't just take one little piece of information and say, okay, if I do this, then I'm gonna get this result. One thing is never going to give it to you. You need the complete foundation. You need the whole thing. You need all of it. You need to know all the exercises I did other than that one. You need to know what I did the day before. You need to know what I've been doing for the last 2 years leading up to that workout. It's not just that one exercise is going to get you a result. Someone say something like, well, do calf raises help me jump higher? I can't even answer the question. It's a non-quantifiable question. What else are you doing besides calf raises? Is that all you're going to do? You're just going to do calf raises and nothing else? Is that going to help you jump higher? Probably not. Because listen, jumping is a total body exercise. You need your abs, you need your back, you need your arms, you need your butt muscles, you need your quad muscles, you need your glutes, you need your feet, you need the tendons to be strong, you need everything to fire at the exact same time. Just calf muscles alone is not going to do that. Calf raises alone is not going to do that. Now, just because you did calf raises and then all of a sudden 2 months later you were jumping higher doesn't necessarily mean it was because of the calf raises. What else were you doing when you weren't doing calf raises? What else were you doing the other 23 hours and 55 minutes a day that you weren't doing calf raises? What were you doing? See, this is the kind of misconceptions that people get when they got bad information. So you got to make sure you're getting information, first of all, from somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about. And let me give you a secret. The people in the YouTube comments don't know what they're talking about. That's just a secret about your training. If you're going to get some information on your training and your body, which you only get one, if something goes wrong with that body, you can forget playing basketball. You might have to forget about doing anything in life if something goes wrong with your body. Don't take advice on your body from people in the comments on the internet. If you want to take advice from somebody, at least get advice from somebody who, at least for whatever reason, appears to be credible. Maybe they're at least making videos to put a face and a name behind what they're saying, to give you some information, give you some context as to why they're talking about it and why they may be credible. At least use your reasoning skills, your skills of discernment to understand that a person in the comments probably doesn't know anything, because if they knew it, they'd probably make a video about it, or write a blog post about it, or write a book about it, or do something that shows they have some credibility. And I'm telling you that not to discredit. I am discrediting people in the comments, but I'm not even talking to the commenters. I'm talking to the people who are seeking the information. Don't take information from people you have no reason to believe that they know what they're talking about. Just because it sounds good to you, just because it makes you feel good, just because it sounds easy, it sounds simple, like, oh, if I just do what this guy in the comments said, I'm gonna be able to jump higher, 3 inches higher in 2 weeks. Oh, I'm gonna just do that. Yeah, it sounds simple, it sounds easy. If it was that easy, don't you think you would have learned it already? Don't you think somebody would have told you that already? Don't you think I would have said it in the video if it was that easy, if it was that simple? Don't believe everything that you hear and everything that you read. And this is a skill you must develop. This is a skill of thinking. You gotta learn how to use your brain. Just because somebody tells you something on the internet doesn't mean it's true. Even me. You don't have to believe everything that I say. Take what I say and go weigh it against some other credible information that you get from someone who, for whatever reason, you believe they're credible. But you gotta get the right information from the right people. So now that we got that myth out the way, what else can I tell you about injuries and basketball? Because players ask me about injuries all the time. If you can't access a trainer, you can't access a doctor, you can't access a physical therapist, you need to get a full body training. That means your training can't be, oh, I'm gonna do this exercise I saw Dre doing, then I'm gonna do this exercise I saw this dude doing. Oh yeah, I heard Steph Curry does this, so now I'm gonna do that. Oh, I was watching NBA.com and I saw Russell Westbrook working on this, so I'm gonna do that. And then you just take one piece from each person and put that all together and say, hey, this is my workout, why am I not getting results? That's because when you watch a 2-minute Steph Curry video of his training off the court, listen, the workout was an hour. You only saw 2 minutes. When I show you a video, the video might be 2 minutes, but the workout was an hour and a half. Russell Westbrook trains with his trainer all off season, every single day for like 90 days. You saw one day a clip, you saw clips of 1 day of the workout. Even if the video was 8 minutes long, was he in the gym for 8 minutes? Probably not. He's probably in the gym for way longer than that. But you only saw 8 minutes. So you don't know everything else that goes on. So what I'm trying to let y'all know is understand that what you see on YouTube in clips, even if it's the best player in the NBA, whoever that player may be, they're not showing you every single thing that they're doing unless that video is like 2 hours long, uncut, no cuts, no edits, and they just show you the whole thing. The conversation is happening between the trainer and the player. That matters too, because the workout is tailored to the player. The workout's tailored to what the player is saying. The player is saying, look, I feel this, I need this. In the games, this was happening. In the middle of the season, this happened. Towards the end of the season, I was feeling this way. Hey, this is what I've been eating. This is how I've been sleeping. This is what we need to work on. So you got to understand that you don't even know what that conversation is. You don't know what's happening. And whatever they put out there, whatever the trainer or the player puts out there for y'all to consume, for us to consume, is edited. That's what they want you to know. That doesn't mean that's everything that's happening. So you got to make sure when you're taking stuff from, because people come to me and say, well, I heard Steph Curry did this, or I heard Kyrie Irving did that. Listen, they did a whole bunch of other stuff that you'll never hear about because they don't talk about it. They don't publicize it because they don't want everybody to know it. These conversations happening between the trainer, the nutritionist, the agent, the player, the coach. Those things happen. You don't know nothing about them. You'll never know what that conversation was. And and those conversations factor into what you see in that 3-minute or that 10-minute or that 20-minute video, but you don't know nothing about the context. But then you're taking it and trying to use it yourself and wondering why you're not getting the same results because you have no context. You're taking little pieces and thinking that's going to get you the result, and it doesn't work. That doesn't work that way. You need the full body program. And I got one for you. It's called the Ultimate Athlete at dreallday.com/UA. Stands for Ultimate Athlete. 15-week program designed specifically for basketball players to get your fitness in order. Now, how do I know this will help you? Is because I'm giving you the entire training program. I'm not just giving you one workout, not giving you one exercise or one drill, or this from over here and that from over there. Is a complete program for a basketball player to develop their athletic abilities. That's every athletic ability. Speed, quickness, flexibility, power, reaction time, agility, all of that in one program. It's called Ultimate Athlete, and it requires no equipment. Position of Power is my strength training program. dreallday.com/POP, pop, for Position of Power. That's a strength training program. So if you have access to a gym, lifting weights, equipment, all of that stuff, Position of Power is for you, strength training. You can get both of those programs in a complete athletic package at hoophandbook.com. That's my training site program. Training program site, hoophandbook.com. You can get both. Don't do them both at the same time. Do them separately. One is 15 weeks, one is 10 weeks. But you got to have a whole program. You can't just take one little piece. I think I said that enough. Hopefully you understand that. So this is me getting rid of some myths about injuries, about training when it comes to basketball. Anything I did not address, leave it down in the comments to this video. And if you ask me something that I did address in the video, I'm going to remind you to watch the whole video and make sure you listen. And I said some things here that you may not have caught on the first pass. Watch this video again. Rewind this video, favorite this video, save it to your phone, whatever you got to do. Watch this video again and make sure you catch what I told you here. Because you don't retain everything that you hear. You retain like 7% of what you hear, but you got to hear it again. You'll start to retain it. You got to retain it again and teach it to somebody else, talk about it, take notes on it. That's how you learn things better. Hopefully this helps somebody out there. Let me know if it did. Let me know anything I didn't share. Any other topic that I haven't covered on video or written format, dreallday.com/help. Let me know. Everybody work on your game. dreallday.com.